Good morning, everyone. Piotr Kawa from Bakotech speaking. Today, on our monthly series of webinars called Tech Wednesday, we will present to you Attivo Network solution which can help you as organization to deceive a hacker. Today's session will be divided into two parts. First one, I will introduce deception technology to you, how you can use it, and how Attivo can help you. And in the second part, our technical director, Maciej Twardy, who is on our call as well, present you Attivo technology. Okay, first of all, I would like to introduce to you the deception technology. So it's the oldest doctrine in the warfare. For sure, you know the Trojan mythology when the Greeks would like to. When the Greeks attacked the Troya city, but unfortunately, with their efforts, they couldn't get there. So they use deception. So they entered this Trojan horse, left it, and during the night, Trojans pull up the horse into the city. During the night, and the Greeks killed all the Trojans, and they conquer the city. So the deception is well-known tactic, even from the historical perspective. How you, as a security specialist, IT specialist, how you can use deception, why deception, and why now? First of all, a lot of almost each person who is dealing with data security has plenty of problems with security and with the security breaches. So first of all, there is the issue how to protect legacy to expanding attack surface. Because right now, if attacker will attack our organization, then they are doing some kind of lateral movement in our organization, jumping from host to host, searching for important data for them. The second point: attackers are breaching our traditional network security devices. Each organization has firewalls, IPSs, IDSs, antiviruses, DLP solutions, and plenty of others. But you can check even in your local media that breaches happen all the time. So the organization should move the defense from this passive defense to the active defense technology. A lot of organizations are implementing SIEM solution, SOAR solutions in their network to gather the logs from the devices, trying to correlate them. But unfortunately, SOC personnel are overwhelming with this alert volume. Gartner last year in May organized a virtual conference, and on this conference they've advised the organization how they can improve the security level. So there was three main points. First of all, you as an organization should examine your own roadmap of investments to identify your own technologies. So on the right side of slide, there's radar security. So all this technology in this yellow circle should be implemented. I don't want to use the word as soon as possible, but it should be at least 1 year initiative. So organization should implement such technologies as deception, for example. We as a Bakotech are distributor of almost each of technology in this yellow circle. So after the call, you can ask us for help. Um, Returning to Gartner, Gartner advised organization to look also for matches or close similarities in technologies you've got in place right now already. So the technology should be security technology should be integrated, for example, into specific playbooks. I will return to these playbooks in a couple of minutes. Company overview. So as I mentioned, today we'll present to you the Attivo solution. Attivo is a market leader with this deception technology. So they are shipping their solutions to the customer since 2014. So this deception technology is pretty new to this security market. What deception do? First of all, in the network we can put breadcrumbs. We can organize deceptive assets to improve our active defense tactics. On this couple of slides, I will present you some kind of technical architecture and integrations about Attivo. So first of all, in this, I would like to present to you one graph. On this graph, you can check this orange part. So orange part are spendings for the IT and especially IT security. So you can check that during that years, organization implementing and expanding their budget for the security solutions. In the same time, the breaches are happening, and the breaches happening, they are increasing year to year. So you can see the trend that no matter how much effort and how much money organization will spend on this IT security solution, breaches still will happen. I would like to go to the Gartner for a while. Once again, there is a guy, Peter Sonnengard, who is senior VP of researchers, and Peter told us that we should move, and organization should move their budget spending from this. From this impossible perfect prevention. So each organization cannot stop or cannot be like fully protected in front of attackers. So organization should move budget spending from this 90 to 10 to 60 to 40 prevention versus detection. So organizations should focus a little bit much more even how to detect the attacker, how to detect the attack, and should focus on it. The question is not if, but when the organization will be attacked. On this graph, you can see that during the first 2 hours, attackers doing lateral movement across our network, across our systems. After some kind of scanning, they are doing privilege escalation. So they trying to behave as an administrator, as an AD user. And this average dwell time from the begins of attack to when organization discover it, it takes days, not even days. It can take even hundreds of days when organization are not aware that hey, they've been hacked. we should start to think as an attacker. On this slide, I've presented to you some kind of typical attack. So first of all, attacker are doing some kind of reconnaissance. They can reconnaissance the organization itself. After this reconnaissance phase, they are preparing sophisticated attack on our organization. The simplest way to get there is phishing. So they are preparing very sophisticated, specific email campaign to our employees, sending mail, and after it, when somebody will click it to the link or download something, then attacker is inside. What they are doing? First of all, they are searching for credentials in memory. They are looking for connections to other system for this lateral movement. For sure, they will ask and query Active Directory to present all the information from AD. They can do man in the middle. They can be a man in the middle, and they are looking for some kind of document access, which with the data which can be good for them. Also, the ransomware attack. Why? First of all, they would like to achieve their goal. They would like to earn the money. So after they target the system, then they can steal the data and they can destroy the data and so on and so on. And they would like to earn on it. But what if we will prepare and we will give them fake data? So the technology of deception, is telling us that we will be attacked for sure, and we should provide, or we have to provide to the attacker fake data, fake information, fake credentials, and they will think that they achieved the goal, but the data will be fake. How Attivo works? First of all, we have to implement in our infrastructure botsync server. It can be physical, virtual, or you can even implement it in the cloud. The box is shipped with few slots for virtual machines. On these virtual machines, we can launch our decoys, and we can there is a few slots for these decoys, and we can play with very specific decoys, for example, as like servers, databases, some endpoints, and plenty other things. So then we will launch these decoys in our environment. As I mentioned before, the simplest way is to get to the organization is phishing attack. So even with these decoys, we should put on our legit endpoints some kind of breadcrumbs. So if attacker will land on the endpoint, then we will feed them with fake data, and this fake data will connect them to the decoys machine. So it can be servers, it can be endpoints, it can be SCADA systems, it can be POS system. So there is plenty of possibilities how we can implement decoys in the infrastructure. Also, we've got Active Directory deception object. So if attacker will query our Active Directory, then we will provide to them fake credentials to the decoys systems. I've mentioned to you that there is plenty of option how we can implement deception platform. So first of all, it can be, as I said, hardware appliance, virtual appliance, or even you can play it, have it in the cloud, Azure, Amazon, on either Oracle. Mm, the appliance will come with specific operating system. So as I mentioned, there is like few slots for operating system which are implemented into the bots. The system can host specific applications. And also you can customize your own golden image and import golden image virtual machine into BotSync, and it will act as your own legit application. As I mentioned, also we've got decoys for SCADA and IoT systems. So we are well prepared for such projects, such opportunities. Also, I've mentioned about breadcrumbs. So we can put on the endpoint fake user data. It can be memory credentials, active connections, credential lures, and so on and so on. So when the attacker will land on the legit endpoint, we will fit them with this data. I've mentioned also about native integrations as Gartner advised to search for such integrations to improve our security level. So Attivo already has plenty of it. Plenty of integrations with other systems, with other vendors, and you can improve your security level with these playbooks. So you can build the playbook, you can unconnect the endpoint from the network, you can quarantine endpoint, you can send all this data to forensic and to analysis. You can implement Attivo with orchestration solutions. So we've got already well-prepared integrations and playbooks. And now I would like to give presenter role to our technical director, to Maciej Twardy. Maciej will present to you the real attack on the endpoint, he will show us how we can prevent and feed the attacker with deception and with the fake data. Maciej, the voice is yours. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maciej Twardy and I am Technical Director at Bakotech. It is my great pleasure to present you how the most important functionalities offered by the Attivo BotSync platform look like in practice. However, let's start with a small experiment that will allow us to answer the question, why do we really need another security solution in our infrastructure? This question is very legitimate. After all, every threat-aware organization has already implemented modern UTM, IDS, SIEM, and so on. So why do we really need another security solution? Unfortunately, mainly because of the weakest link in the security chain, the employee of our organization. Often through inattention, recklessness, negligence, or lack of elementary knowledge of IT security, she or he becomes the main vector of attack. So it is not a question of if, but when hackers taking advantage of this fact will break into our company to steal some valuable data or encrypt it in order to get some ransom. In such situation, IT security teams need to discover and mitigate the intruder as soon as possible, and in the meantime, preferably divert his attention from the organization's key assets. How to do it? Firstly, in the most effective, and secondly, in the most automated way. This is where the Attivo platform comes into action. Let's try to recreate a hypothetical example of such a breach, of course in a very simplified form. Important note before we move on. Please do not treat this presentation as a training on how to become a hacker. The whole demonstration is performed in the test environment on fake data. Any tools I use will only serve to illustrate capabilities of the Attivo solution. Let's imagine that in our company, one unwary employee received a newsletter informing about the availability of an update to a popular SSH client. This user downloaded the installation file from link attached to the email and tried to run it. In my case, I didn't notice any result, although we can easily start the real installation process. Theoretically, nothing bad happened on our victim's computer, but is it really so? Let's look from the other side. How does the whole process look like from hacker's perspective? Before our employee started the fake installer, the hacker took a few actions in advance. He generated a fake file that mimicked the installer and injected into it a malicious payload that will eventually allow him to take control over the victim's endpoint. He uploaded this file to a website that looks very similar to the original vendor's website. And finally, he prepared a targeted phishing campaign in order to find potential victims. After that, he started listening for the feedback from infected computer with malicious code. In the same moment the employee will run the fake file, the hacker will take control over his computer. What he can do? Let's try, for example, to get access to the Windows shell. So in the console, I will type the shell command and try to list the content of the system C partition. As you can see, I was able to do this without any problems. In the next step, the hacker will probably make a reconnaissance of the available resources both locally on the victim's computer and also in the internal network. For this purpose, let's start from checking the network configuration. We are in the 172.16.120 subnet. The hacker will probably perform a scan of the hosts and services available in this subnet to detect potential targets for the further lateral movement. Let's check how does it look like in our example. The intruder will of course use console tools, but for visualization purposes, I show you results of scanning our subnet in the Nmap application with graphical interface. As a result of the scan, we found dozens of hosts on which we can see now plenty of services are running. These are potential targets of an attack. Our hacker will deal with them later. Before that, he will check what he can find also on the local system. Perhaps some users' credentials are stored in a memory here, what will help him later in a lateral movement. Let's check it out using the cmd key command. As you can see, we've got a very long list of credentials, an extremely valuable finding from a hacker's point of view. We can get similar results using the graphical tool Credential Manager. What's more, these credentials look reliable and up to date. Look at the modification dates. For example, here we can see the same user as a moment ago in the result of the cmd key command, Postgres ADM on the host 172.16.120.124. In the next step, let's try to retrieve a list of password hashes for each user. To do this, we need to leave the shell of hacked computer for a moment. Let's now migrate our backdoor to the Windows Explorer process ID. Now we will take a hash dump of passwords from credentials stored in the memory. Great, we have them. There may be some simple dictionary passwords, so we will be able to crack them quickly. Let's check it out using the hashcat tool. We can see now that passwords have been successfully decrypted for some of the users. Is our previously identified Postgres ADM user among them? Let's find his hash in the list of guest passwords. And finally, we have the password. So let's try to use it. We saw earlier that this user was associated with the host 172.16.120.124. Maybe there is a Windows RDP service available on this host. Our previous network scan will answer this question, so let's check. As you can see, it is described here as ms-wbt-server on the default port 3389. So let's run the remote desktop connection and check our password. What's more, this user even has a saved session, so let's connect and enter the password. A full success, we've managed to connect to another machine. We have complete control over it. We can, for example, browse both the local file system and the network environment. In the same way, from the local station, we can browse the network environment by checking all found hosts one by one. For example, let's check out host with an IP ending in 124. As you can see, we have access to a lot of potential interesting data. What else caught our eyes was a folder called CRM. Let's see what's in it. The PDF file looks like an export of accounts from some CRM system. Let's see. Very interesting data. To sum up this stage, our hacker gained wide access to the organization's infrastructure and data, containing very interesting and valuable resources. The statistics say that after a successful hack, attackers remain unnoticed for several days, freely stealing companies' data. At first glance, we are on a very weak position, but are we really? What if it turns out that most of the workstations and servers visible during the scan were fake? The same goes for user accounts and the passwords and even documents downloaded by the hacker. We can finally reverse this pessimistic scenario and come away unscathed from a hopeless situation. And this is all thanks to the Attivo platform. I hope this short introduction intrigued you, so let's check how it was possible. The general idea behind the Attivo BotSync platform is to create an artificial environment deceptively similar to production infrastructure to distract intruders from an organization's critical assets. At the same time, security administrators must be alerted when attackers are detected and they must be able to track attackers' every move. Of course, this fake environment must mimic real systems as closely as possible, so that attackers are misled and do not discover that they are taking over fake resources. How does Attivo do this, and how difficult and time consuming is this process? What automation and detection capabilities does the platform offer to us? These, among the others, there are the questions I will try to address during my demo. So let's get started. First, let's log into the Attivo BotSync web-based management console. The first section we can see now is the main dashboard, which allows us to immediately check the current situation, the detected incidents, their type, the elements of infrastructure affected, etc. As you can see, we have here visible events that perfectly coincide with all the activities we have just performed as a hacker, including network reconnaissance, RDP logins, decoy document check, and many others. We'll come back to these later in the presentation. At the very beginning, it's worth emphasizing that both the main Attivo dashboard and the entire web interface of the platform are very clear and intuitive. Here we can find detailed data on what is happening in our network. For example, in the left panel, we see the number of detected attacks and unique attackers. Below, we have a similar overview, only broken down into 5 main attack sources, 5 types of attack, their phases and targets. Jumping to the Network tab, we find a summary of detected hosts, manufacturers, and type of operating systems. The last tab, Threat Path, is very important because it allows us to identify the attacker and, what is more important, the potential possibilities of using credentials of users with high privileges present in our infrastructure, for example, domain administrators. Where do these credentials come from? Each time the administrator log on to perform some maintenance work on operating system, that creates such data in RAM memory. Credentials remain there until the endpoint is turned off or restarted. So there is a very high risk that a hacker who manages to break into our company will perform a memory dump and take over such critical credentials. Threat Path technology is designed to help you minimize the risk by detecting hosts with presence of critical credentials and analyzing possible lateral movement paths leading to the key resources of our organization, for example, domain controllers. We will return to this very important technology later in this demo. In the meantime, you've probably noticed that all the charts were updating automatically, showing us the latest data. Of course, Attivo gives us the ability to change the time range of the presented data. In the upper right corner, we can choose the default range or any custom data range. We can also set a minimum severity level of the events. The panel on the right presents a list of recent events that fit into the defined filter, while on the central area of the main dashboard there are pie charts of the attacks by phase and events by severity. Below that, we have a classification of events in the MITRE ATT&CK framework with the ability to switch to a time distribution of detected attacks. This is the Time-Based Attacks tab. Each of the charts is interactive. I mean, we can turn off the types of attacks we are not interested in to focus only on selected ones. Of course, we can return to the original chart at any time. In the same way, we can select the range of information presented on each visible chart. It is very easy to drill down from this level to detailed view for each category of information. Just click on the particular area, for example, attack phases, selecting, let's say, reconnaissance type events. When you click on it, a dedicated panel will appear containing detailed data on detected attacks falling into this category, including, after expanding a given row, the data of the attacker, target machine, timestamp, information on operating system, and detailed description of the detected attack. Various actions are also available for each event. We can, for example, generate a post-incident report in the following format: sticks, IOC, CSV, or download packet data in pickup format for low-level analysis. Note how ergonomic Attivo's interface is. If I close the report window now, I go back one step to the reconnaissance events list and not to the main dashboard. If you would like to know how a certain type of attack is defined, there is a handy another action showed attack description that will give you a clear explanation of this. You've probably noticed an icon on the left side next to the refresh view. At any time we can generate a report from a given card and download it in CSV format. Closing this reconnaissance event window returns us to the main dashboard. In a similar way, we can quickly review details, for example, for critical severity events, events at selected point in time, statistics on attacks targets, and finally individual events from the recent events panel. At any time, we can also generate a summary report in PDF format from the main dashboard by clicking on the icon in the upper right corner. Let's check how it looks like. And here again, Attivo makes our daily work very easy. With one click, we get a report ready for analysis in a clear and aesthetic form. This way of interactions and data presentation is prepared especially for needs of people working in SOC centers. What we will certainly do using the main dashboard is a look at the highest severity attacks first. So let's turn on filter for this. Now we can investigate such attacks. For example, let's check the source of IP 172.16.120.50. In the new panel we can see what was the chronology of the hacker's actions. What actions were performed at what time. Each line can be expanded to verify the details. In the central part we have immediately available MITRE classification and a link redirecting to a dedicated analytical dashboard for events. If we are dealing with a false positive, for example our internal scanning system, we can very quickly create an exception and add that IP address to the allow list. To do so, we just click the allow IP button. We can also immediately quarantine and disconnect the attacker from the network using Attivo's integration with security platforms such as Blue Coat, Palo Alto, Carbon Black, or Fortinet. Additionally, the action button allows us to start the forensic process We can also run automation using Playbooks or generate a report in one of the presented formats. As you can see, even this small part of the overall capabilities shows how much potential there is in the Attivo platform, how quickly and clearly it can alert us and help to verify the activities of intruders in our network. Of course, this is not all that it can do, so let's move on to the other elements which can be found in the BotSync solution. In the Analysis menu, we have the Network section, which allows us to visualize the changes occurring in our network from the Attivo appliance point of view. You can see it now in the center of the diagram. Using the filter at the top of the window, we can define the observed time range for which Attivo presents assets detected in our network. Gray icons are inactive stations, blue are currently available hosts, and orange are virtual decoys injected by Attivo. Thanks to this dashboard, we are able to verify what the deception environment looks like from the hacker's perspective and what machines he will see when performing scans. What's interesting, we can also play something like a movie showing how dynamically our network has changed. At any time, we have the option to export the diagram to a graphic file and also to switch to the table view. In this form, it is very easy to identify the activity of attackers by clicking on the stats column. We can instantly check which methods are used by the attacker. We can see a lot of generated LLMNR traffic and in other case ARP. All these statistics allow us to see what phase of attack we are dealing with, scanning, man in the middle, etc. So we have a very high visibility into the actions of the attacker. If you would like to automatically generate an alarm when a new host or VLAN will appear in the network, simply enable this option with Alert button. In this way, we will be quickly and easily notified of changes occurring in our network. What we find next in the Attivo platform is the ability to analyze attacks from the attacker's perspective. Apart from the default table view, we can easily switch to a very interesting visualization which present individual attacks activities detected in our environment. What is more, thanks to the interactivity built into the Attivo console, we can find out who was communicating with whom with a single click. For example, if you move your mouse over the red arrows, you can see that a given attacker used stolen fake credentials to log into one of the decoy machines or opened a fake document. For each attacker, we have a pop-up menu available under the right mouse button. We can add it to the allow list, trigger a memory dump for analysis, display detailed host data, or run automation in the form of a playbook. And if we are integrated with external security solutions, we can disconnect the intruder from the network from this level. Finally, this dashboard also allows us to replay the course of the attack in the movie-like fashion. This allows us to see exactly how the attack was carried out, at what point in time the attacker got into our network, what hosts he communicated with, and what resources he was interested in. Another very important feature available in Attivo is the ability to self-learn. Why is so important? Well, after the first contact with this solution, many customers have concerns about how hard and work intensive is configuration and management of this platform. Administrators in companies are already overloaded with current responsibilities, and at first glance, the duties associated with maintaining a deception environment seems measurable. These legitimate concerns are addressed by the self-learning functionality built into Attivo. It uses machine learning algorithms that, based on data gathered from production Active Directory and network traffic analysis, create proposals for automatic campaigns building full deception environment which mimic real resources as much as possible. Hence, the automatic customization covers a whole range of elements, from choosing the number of decoys machines, their names, IP and MAC addresses, services running on them, going to user accounts and fake Active Directory data. Of course, as Attivo administrators, we still have the option to manually modify the proposed configuration, but most of the difficult work is done for us by BotSync. What you see on the screen now is the second step of the Active Directory Learning Wizard. I finished the first one earlier due to the time constraints of our today's meeting. After analyzing AD, Attivo suggested implementing several endpoint campaigns adapted to the services present in my production environment. Let's look at the sample Windows File Server campaign proposal. I select item 6, Windows File Server in the table and click Edit. Each such campaign is based on predefined templates containing a list of services required to run on each decoy machine. In this template, the campaign profile has the same name, Windows File Server. We can check what services are suggested for this type of decoys. As expected, we will have SMB, RDP and WinRM services running in this case. Of course, we can change these default settings at any time. Let's go back to the campaign editing window. In the central table, we see a list of available decoy machines along with a selection of those whose capabilities allow to run the necessary set of services for the particular campaigns. Logically, in the case of our Windows File Server campaign, only Windows machines will be capable of doing this. In the tabs above, we have the possibility to customize the configuration of individual services. And so for the RDP service, we can specify which of the available fake credential tokens should be associated with it. Similarly for the SMB service, except that in this case we can also define the ways of mapping fake SMB shares and load fake content, including luring documents, which we could see in action at the beginning of the presentation. If we have accepted the proposals for configuration of decoy machines, we can go to the next step and define which fake tokens, concerning among others user credentials, temporary and session data for various applications, are to be prepared in special threat strike packages for installation on different versions of production endpoints. And finally, with one click, we can start the entire campaign deployment process. Attivo will then automatically create and configure the necessary decoy machines, bring them into our network and prepare threat strike packages for installation on production endpoints. What is very important, the process of automatic learning is periodically repeated. Thanks to this, campaigns will automatically adapt to the changes in our IT infrastructure. However, we always have access to the possibility of manual modification of individual campaigns, decoy campaign selection, as well as modification of all decoy objects. As you can see on the screen now, they will include a whole range of different settings, starting from cookie files through credential profiles, SMB shares, and ending with FTP and VPN connection data. At the very bottom of the deployment menu, we see a very interesting section, Active Directory split into production and decoy AD. A few information about this. Attivo allows us to effectively secure our directory service. We have the possibility of either creating a packet of a fake data containing, for example, user or workstation accounts, which we can then import into production AD. If we don't want to do that, we can use Attivo to create a complete fake AD infrastructure and run it on a chosen decoy machine. This will allow an unaware hacker to take over or destroy completely useless data and environment generated by Attivo, and we as an administrator will be immediately alerted about this. At this point, we very often encounter the question of how all these various functionalities are implemented from the technical perspective. How is it possible, for example, that one physical Attivo appliance is able to perform so many tasks simultaneously? The answer to this question can be found in the part of the Configuration Decoys VM Management menu. Each bot sync, regardless of its form, physical appliance or a virtual environment, comes with a set of ready-to-use decoy machine images with the most popular operating systems. In my case, these are Windows Server, CentOS and Ubuntu virtual machines. Apart from them, we can of course use the Attivo repository and download other versions of machines, not only for mentioned operating system families, but also for more specific solutions, such as industrial SCADA systems, POS payment terminal emulators, or network devices like routers. What is important, those few virtual machines loaded into BotSync are able, depending on its version, to generate even a few thousand decoy machines injected into production networks. We can also import our own versions of decoy machines, specially prepared with tools provided by Attivo. All of this is to ensure that from the hacker's perspective, the decoy infrastructure contains only those operating systems, services, applications, data, and other elements that could potentially be present in an organization production environment. The intruder has to be convinced that he successfully broken into the real environment. The ability to selectively enable and disable services broadcast by individual machines can help achieve this goal. Now you can see how does it look like in the CentOS operating system. When we were discussing alerts, I mentioned several times that attackers can be quarantined. This is possible thanks to the rich integration capabilities of the Attivo platform, including not only proactive response and reaction, but also reporting to external systems. Let's now jump to the Configuration ThreadOps Connectors menu. The first SIM section allows you to configure Attivo's connection to 4 well-known event management platforms: ArcSight, Logarithm, QRadar, and Splunk. This is by no means a simple integration via syslog. We are able to repeatedly query, for example, ArcSight platform, whether our decoy credentials or tokens are not present in the data stored in it. Of course, if they would appear, this should alert us immediately because it's a clear sign that someone, after infiltrating the decoy, is trying to use the stolen credentials in the production environment. Of course, BotSync integrates also with blocking solutions. As you can see, we have a rich list of many well-known vendors. Thanks to this, we are able to achieve the effect of automatically blocking a given user or host from accessing the internal network or internet. And all of this is very easy to configure. You only need to provide an IP address, and BotSync, through an API interface, will connect to the appropriate blocking platform and start a quarantine the attackers. The automation functionalities are completed by so-called playbooks. They allow you to define automatic processes for analyzing or responding to detected events. This is a very simple task. We have a graphical wizard which allows you to easily create the entire process of handling the event. Just drag and drop an interesting element from the available pool of the functional blocks divided into 3 categories: analysis, response actions, and notifications. This defines the whole process itself. Once it's saved, we can create a new trigger where we can set precise conditions for starting a given playbook, including defining the event severity thresholds, its exact type, or the IP addresses or associated services. The last step, select the playbook that you want to trigger after detection of these conditions. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, I will return to the threat path functionality for a moment. This is a very important tool that periodically scans our infrastructure and detects a number of potentially extremely dangerous situations. For example, the presence of user credentials with high privileges in our endpoints or vulnerabilities related to configuration errors. In the Paths tab, we can find a detailed list showing such credentials, along with the visualization of possible lateral movement of an intruder between production hosts to reach key resources, such as domain controller. Each icon is a set of credentials present on a given host. As you can see, there are local and domain administrator accounts and also AD groups they belong to. The blue arrows identify the RDP credentials present in RAM memory, while the purple arrows identify access via privileged accounts. The Vulnerabilities tab shows detected configuration errors, which make it easier for hackers to penetrate the production environment. For example, these include disabling the Windows firewall, the ability to access the network anonymously, the ability to network logging to local accounts, and many more. The Last Credentials tab allows you to see what credentials, both real and fake, generated by Attivo are present on each endpoint. For example, let's check the finance host. When you click on it, in the panel on the right, we have available a detailed summary of the credentials grouped by service. Blue ones are real and orange ones are fake. Additionally, in the Vulnerabilities tab, we have a list of all configuration errors for this host. We can pass such a list to employees dealing with infrastructure maintenance in order to remove all detected errors. And this concludes my demonstration, which was just a brief introduction to extremely rich functionality offered by the Attivo Bot Sync. We didn't have time to tell you about many other interesting features, such as malware detection in the built-in sandbox and securing organization data against encryption, and many more things. But I hope you got interested in this solution, so thank you very much for your attention and have a good day.
Maciej, thank you for your part. For me, it was very interesting piece of technology. To all attendees, I would like to thank you for your time today. Also, in the same time, please let us know. You can drop us email on piotr.kawa@bakotech.com. We will help you with test of the solution. We can prepare for you dedicated webinar for you to help you to understand the deception technology. In the same time, I would like to advise you to visit our website, cee.bakotech.com. Go to our webinars. We've got already scheduled few very interesting, so we will invite you for it. Right now, I would like to thank you for your time once again, and I wish you a pleasant day. Thank you.